Hello, everyone. We're here with Brian Keith Voiles, master copywriter. And there's a lot of you that know Brian, and there's a lot of people you just getting to know Brian. So I thought it'd be great to invite Brian here to uh, give his origin story, kind of how he got into writing copy. And it's going to be quite an interesting story. And I always like to hear the stories of the origin stories, I like to call them, of how he became the superhero copywriter that he is. And so, Brian, why don't you go ahead and just start, and I'll jump in if I think there's anything that we need to add from me knowing the story. And this will allow everybody to get to know you, and then those, of course, that do already know you can have a reminder of your story.
Yeah, well, I grew up like Steve Martin. I was born a poor black child, and in the backwoods of Oklahoma. I remember walking on floors uh, that were dirt floors. So that kind of gives you an idea of where I started from. Um, it was pretty rural, and that didn't change much. Finally, we moved to the city when I got a little bit older, and and then my mom and dad got a divorce, and my mom wanted to come out to Salt Lake City for some reason, and she had custody of me, and so she drugged me along with her. And I remember getting a job at the age of 13, washing dishes, making $2.25 an hour, and but I learned, these are formative things that happened to me. Another thing was I went on a missionary service to Japan and knocked on doors with strangers talking about religion. That, if you can imagine, that's a pretty tough thing to do. But it
Yeah.
was great sales training for a kid my age who had never really done anything like that. So when I got home uh, from my mission, I dove right in to life, I guess you could say, and I got married right away. And she already had a daughter, so I was instantly a parent, and that was nice. It was fun, and then we had three boys together after that, and they're all great kids. They're all amazing individuals, all four of them. And but when I was first married, I had a high school friend that I really thought a lot of. Uh, he pitched me on becoming an Amway distributor,
Okay.
and I didn't know what that meant at all. Uh, but what appealed to me was he said I could make 60,000 a year working 5 hours a week, and that was perfect for me. I said, hey, if I can make 60 grand, that's more than enough money that I'll ever need. And remember, I'm coming from a scarcity, almost even poverty, childhood growing up. So 60 grand back in 19, what would it be, 83, 84? That sounded like plenty to me.
Yeah.
And so, with that promise in tow, uh, again, and the reason I tell you this is it's all formative. It's part of me learning how to sell, how to write copy, as it were. And so I proceeded to sponsor 36 people into my Amway business, and I never made a dime, but I spent hours and hours listening to success cassettes and how to make the sale cassette, and things like that. And so it wasn't a successful endeavor, but I'm grateful for it because I got hours and hours of sales training and hours of sales experience doing that. And while I was trying to build the Amway business, I worked at Interstate Brick in Utah, and I stacked brick as they came off the kiln car, sometimes burning hot,
Oh, wow.
haven't even cooled down yet. So you take them off the kiln and you put them on a pallet. And all day, that's what you did. Talk about menial labor. That's what it was. But I could make $100 a day doing it because they paid us piecework. So the more brick we stacked, the more money we made, in other words. So I worked there for 3.5 years. Again, all while I'm trying to build this Amway business. And during the time I was stacking bricks, again, I was listening to hours and hours. I brought a Walkman with cassette player, and I'd listen to those through my headphones all day while stacking brick. So again, it was core training, if you will, from Brian Tracy, and goodness gracious. So I could go on forever on that, but it was good training for me. So for 3.5 years, I did that, and then I got laid off. I thought, oh boy, what am I going to do here? I'm getting laid off. Well, fortunately, we had unemployment. Is it called unemployment insurance?
Yeah.
I think so. And so we got that menial check once a week. But in the meantime, I said to myself, I got to do something else. I got to do something else. And about that time, another friend from high school called me and he said, hey, why don't you come with me? And now that you're laid off, why don't you come with me and help me clean these carpets at these houses and office buildings? So he had his own carpet cleaning business. And so I would go with him and he'd pay me $10 cash per hour. And one night we did an office building together. And he said, geez, Brian, you ought to stop in on places like this and see if you could do their janitorial work. And I thought, wow, what a great idea. So what I did is I spent $15. My wife would have killed me if she knew I did this. I spent $15 on business cards. And it was Voiles Cleaning Services. I didn't know anything about coffee at the time. But I wasn't afraid to sell. I wasn't afraid to cold call or knock on doors. So what I did was I went to the busiest street in Salt Lake City and I walked down the north side of that street for 27 blocks and knocked on every single business door offering them my janitorial cleaning service. I had a big supply of cleaning supplies from my Amway training. So I might as well put them to work, right?
Right. Yep.
So anyhow, I went 27 blocks up and across the street and came back down 27 blocks. Knocked on every single door that was a business. And by the time I was done, I had $3,500 a month worth of janitorial business. And so I had to buy a vacuum. That was one thing I had to do. Excuse me. And so I that was it. It wasn't so much that it was my own business or my own enterprise or what have you. It was more of My goal when I got into Amway and started listening to all the programming and whatnot, my goal was to work as little as possible, make the most money as possible, and get to stay home and be a dad to my 4 kids. There was just nothing more important than being a daddy to those 4 kids. And so that's what I saw in the Amway business. Freedom, time freedom, money freedom. And that's what I saw in the janitorial business. Time freedom, some money freedom. And so I would get up at 5 or 4 in the morning, go do my cleaning route for that day. I was usually home by 6:30 or 7. So I could make breakfast for the kids, get them ready for school, and in general just be there for them. And so I didn't really care where we lived. We were living in a mobile home park, but we were happy, you know. And that's really all that mattered to me. I wanted to be a great dad for my kids. After a while, um, I was doing the janitorial business, and then my wife said to me, "Hey, don't you still have your magic tricks from when you were a kid?" And I did. I had a trunk full of magic kit tricks that I did. She said, "Can't you make some money with that, like at schools and stuff?" And I said, "Well, heck, I don't know. Let's see what happens." So again, I wasn't afraid to cold call, and I got on the phone and talked to who's in charge of your assembly programs. Okay, can I please talk to him? I talked to him and sell him, and I swear, as I remember it when I first got started, and it's probably because I charged too little money. But when I first started, I swear I just closed every person I talked to on the phone.
Free.
Yeah, it might as well have been
Might as
free.
well.
Uh, uh, I remember charging $50, as low as $50, I should say. So I started doing that. And I thought, wow, I wonder if I can really make money doing this magic thing. I was still getting up early, doing janitorial work. But then I wanted to uh, do this magic stuff. And this is where things really kind of take a turn here. And that's I got a letter in the mail, uh, and it was from a gentleman down in Albuquerque. His name was Brian Flora, and he was doing a marketing seminar for magicians. And I thought, wow, I gotta go to that. I just don't have a choice. I have to go.
We're compelled.
So I did go, and it was kind of my marketing 101. And that's where I learned uh, a little bit about copywriting. I didn't learn a lot there, but when I came home, I got uh, I got a lot of junk mail, and I'll tell you why I got a lot of junk mail is because I replied to so many ads in the back of business opportunity magazines, and so um, again, just looking to make more money, buying myself more free time so I can be the best dad on the planet. That was my end goal. That was my focus. If it could get me closer to that, I'll do it. Well, one day, and I'm trying to remember if this happened before the magic marketing seminar. It must have been before the magic marketing seminar. I'll tell you why in a minute. But one day before the magic marketing seminar, I got a newsprint catalog in the mail, and I was thumbing through it. It was how to make money washing windows, how to make money cutting lawns, et cetera, et cetera. And then I turned to a spread, and on the left, it says something like how to get all the customers you'll ever need, 100% guaranteed. Wow, my goodness, that grabbed my eyeballs like crazy. I was like, what is this? And then across the page, it was a book that kind of said the same thing. Learn how to market and get all the customers your business will ever need. And they were both published by the same publisher. So right in the middle, it said, hey, buy both books and get a $10 discount. So I bought both books. Again, my wife would have killed me. It was like $70. So I bought both books, and when they came in the mail, I devoured them. I just could not stop reading. And one was strictly on copywriting, and one was on marketing. Okay, so I go to this magic marketing seminar, and it's a smaller group of people, maybe like me and 20 other magicians from around the country. And one guy pulled me aside. Actually, what happened was I used what I learned from the copywriting book to write a letter. And I sent this letter to moms whose kid had a birthday next month. Okay. And that letter, over 6 months, every time I would send 100 of those letters out, I would book 36 shows on average.
So take me back real quick though, like, because this is old school, man. I totally remember all this stuff. How'd you end up getting the original, or how'd you end up getting these lists of moms to mail to?
Actually, what I did is I made a free drawing box. It said, win a free magic show for your child's birthday party. And the party stores didn't mind if I left those boxes in their store. And so that's where the leads would come from. And it would have their birthday, their name, their age, etc., and their address. I didn't put phone number down. I thought I was asking for too much back then.
Yeah.
So that's how I built my list. And over time, I had quite a substantial list. But the response rate, I had no idea. I don't know if I skipped over it during the marketing book or during the copywriting book or what, but I didn't know that 36 orders out of 100 letters mailed was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
With an average of like $65 a show type of thing. So when I got to the magic marketing seminar, they said,
Let me pause you real quick though too. So this was where we talked about how you got kind of your list, and all of your copywriting experience came from the one book initially.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And so I just kind of followed the instructions and looked at the benefits, gave him a reason why, gave him a guarantee, all the typical stuff. I put this letter together,
Do you
and
remember what your guarantee was?
I was 100% satisfaction guaranteed, no questions asked. So
Okay.
yeah. So anyway, at the marketing seminar, at one point, it was like an open room. They're like, anybody have anything you want to share with? And I said, well, I got I got something. I got this birthday party letter. And I stood up and I said, this letter gets me 36 shows for every 100 letters I mail. And the whole room just went, and I did not know. I was very naive. I didn't know that was phenomenal.
Yeah,
And
rightfully so.
one one gentleman that was there at that seminar in particular, he wrote Gene Roddenberry's biography, and he lived in Hawaii or in Hollywood, and everybody just kind of looked up to this guy. He was an older gentleman, had some wisdom. Anyway, I was standing there with that letter. I said, "You guys can have a copy if you'd like." And the guy was sitting at the front of the room, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. He looks back over his shoulder at me. He says, "Well, get the hell out of the magic business and get yourself into copywriting. You'll make a hell of a lot more money." And everybody else just laughed. I thought that was so funny. I didn't laugh. I was like, what's the copywriting business? Again,
Yeah.
I wanted to make more money, to have more free time, to be the best dad on the planet. And he said, that's what I could do. I could make more money with the copywriting thing. Well, anyway, we went to break. I made copies for everybody, but I had this uh, guy come up to me. He says, "Hey, I got to tell you about this newsletter that I get once a month. And I cannot wait to rip it open and read it." And I didn't even know what a newsletter was. But he proceeded to tell me about Gary Halbert and Halbert's newsletter, which came via mail once a month at that point in time. He gave me a couple back issues to read, and I had to figure out how to get on his subscriber list without my wife knowing, because it was I couldn't live without the back
Pattern
issues.
here.
You know, I had to have the back issues because the current issues were so valuable. So anyway, I snuck a way of doing it. I think it was $1,299 or something. Oh, she'd probably still kill me, if we were still married. But it was, I just devoured. I got all the back issues and just devoured. I did everything he said. I read all the classics. I wrote ads out by hand. I mean, if Gary said to jump naked through a hoop of fire, I would have jumped naked through a hoop of fire. I
Why?
mean, yeah, I did twice for sure. And anyway, I just devoured it, and I continued to write letters. I did shows at preschools, grade schools, elementary or junior high schools, and I just proceeded to hone a letter for each of those markets and work on a new birthday letter. And it was just an exciting time for me. It was going real gangbusters. And so that's really how I got into copywriting. And the thing that threw me over the fence, as it were, um, to where I had to quit the janitorial stuff. So I was still doing janitorial this whole time. And I I got some people in my church who said, "Oh, we would love to do the janitorial work." And so I turned over almost all the janitorial to these people in my church. Excuse me. And they were really grateful. And I didn't have to give up the business, which I'd worked so hard to do. And I paid them more than half the money that I still had coming in. But what really threw me into copywriting to where I had no choice, John Carlton, gun to the head type of stuff, where I just had to make it work, was when I discovered a brain tumor about the size of a large grapefruit right in the middle of my brain. And we had to cancel dozens of magic shows because from the day we discovered the tumor till I had surgery, it was only like 2 days. And so dozens of shows had to be canceled because I didn't know if I was going to be able to walk, talk, see, I didn't know, or I didn't even know if I was coming home. And the doctors didn't think I would come home. So luckily enough, thank heavens above, I lived through that. And it's been a terribly difficult struggle, but that's what ultimately threw me into copywriting, where I had to do it. I was at the point where I heard about the Anton brothers. I don't know if you know the Anton brothers. They did some stuff with Gary Halbert, and they put out their own marketing letter. I got into Jay Abraham, Ted Nicholas, Dan Kennedy, Ted Thomas, and please understand, to me, these guys were amazing, but they were still human. And so I would call their office and say, hey, can I do some copywriting for you? And I did. I wrote for Ted Thomas. I wrote for Ted Nicholas. I didn't write for Dan Kennedy. I wrote for Gary Halbert on personal projects for him, not client projects that he would send my way. Although I did do a few of those. Almost all the copy I wrote for Gary Halbert was for his own product. But I just worked him like I would any other lead. I get him on the phone, introduce myself, fax you over some samples of my copy. I wasn't embarrassed that they were for birthday parties or for a junior high. I'd send them over and explain how well it worked. And I think I wrote 3 different packages for Ted Nicholas. I wrote 2 different times for Ted Thomas, but I wrote at least a dozen for Gary, and but it goes back to that fundamental training that I got, knocking on doors, approaching strangers, just not fearing that at all. Just, hey, here's what I got to do if I want to get by,
Well, let me ask you, so, because I know we all have our origin story for many different aspects of our life. Would you say that there were times, though, that even though the way it sort of sounds is that, you're like, well, I'll just be tough and I'm just going to do it. Did you ever do any stuff in this origin story where you were scared out of your mind, but you still did it anyway?
Oh, absolutely. everything to do with launching a copywriting career was nerve-wracking and was scary, and coming to face my mortality, I remember kneeling down my kids and saying, now here's what's going on. Daddy's going to the hospital tomorrow, and Daddy might not be coming home. And it just shook me to the core to have to even say those words now. Just send shivers down my spine. And so coming home from the brain tumor surgery, and knowing, guess what, I've got to get to work. I didn't have any health insurance, and to pay for everything, so I had to negotiate with the hospitals and the doctors and everything like that. But in the meantime, gosh, I can't do magic shows. I can't really do any janitorial work anymore. I guess what I can do is sit in my bed and write copy on the keyboard. I could do that. And so that was kind of, I mean, it wasn't ever that logical. It wasn't ever that laid out that plainly, but looking back on it, I could kind of reconstruct it and see that that's
Right.
what I believe happened. And so I just got on the phone. If I even got on the phone with our local newspaper. They were running ads in the yellow pages, which was still a big deal back in the day. If they were running ads on TV or in the newspaper, I would cut their ad out of the newspaper and give them a call. Who do I talk to about getting an ad that really works for you guys? Instead of just, blah, blah. Call this number because you're supposed to, stupid
Yeah.
advertising, image advertising. So it wasn't just my heroes that I was calling and looking for work from. It was those people too, local businesses, newspaper advertisers, and even radio advertisers. So again, I wasn't afraid to get on the phone. I wasn't afraid to get the guy in charge's name and his phone number and find out what his budget was and how I could work within it. And I remember writing hundreds and hundreds. Do you remember these card decks?
Oh yeah. The
That
card
used to,
deck. Yeah.
yeah, I remember writing. I would say I wrote over 100 of these card deck cards, which got me really, really good at postcard marketing. So I, I really don't mean to sound like a braggart or that I was Superman. I was just willing to do whatever it took, as long as it didn't harm my fellow man or hurt my fellow man. I would do whatever it took to fill the coffers and take care of my family. So,
And I guess so. One of the last questions I have then is, because we have a lot of people that come. There are different stages of copywriting, or and learning it. So, would you say with you, through your experiences, would you say that you grew into becoming who you were, or do you feel it was more of like you were more just born with it? With being, hey, I'll do whatever it takes. Because there's some people that have that, they're kind of already born with I'll do whatever it takes, and they just seem to not fear anybody and anyone and throw a whole bunch of spaghetti against the wall. Or do you think you, from your experiences, I mean, I'm kind of feeling like that's what it is, but I want to hear what your opinion is. If you think you learned that strength of just let me just keep trying. Let me keep trying. And you would have certain successes that led you up to being not so fearful, I guess. Or were
Yeah.
you?
This may sound a little cheesy and over the top for some people, but the reason I was willing to do the uncomfortable things was because I wanted to be the world's best dad. And that stems back to when I was 17 years old. I don't remember what was taught at Sunday school or seminary or at Scouts or wherever, whatever it was. I just remember waking up and putting my feet down on the floor while I sat on the edge of my bed. And I had this overwhelming reality slap me. And it was, I never had a daddy. I just sat there and this realization came to me. I never had a daddy. And I just bawled. I just started just bawling with this realization. Again, I don't remember what, if anything, brought it on, but that same time, though, I think was instilled in me this drive to, no matter what it takes, I'm going to be the world's best dad and the world's best husband. I just am. And you can look at my life from that time forward. It's like a new timeline was started. And that was my drive. That was my fire for everything I did. Every decision I ever made was, is this going to make me a better dad or a better husband or not? And if it wasn't, I wouldn't waste my time with it. You know, I remember the guys giving me flack about the football games or the basketball games. You didn't see that? Oh man, you know, no, I was missing playing at the park with my kids, you know, or whatnot. It just, it's amazing how
Yeah.
someone would harass you over such a thing like that, but it happened. It's all right.
Well, I can attest. I mean, having known you over the years, and even now that all the kids are out, there's probably about not one time that we don't speak that somehow one of the kids or something about the kids pops up. So I can still see how in that timeline, like you said, it still plays a role. So
Yeah.
really appreciate you sharing your origin story with us, and things that kind of led you to where you are now. And we look forward to many more videos with you as well, getting more detailed into copy and things like that. And
Wonderful.
again, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Yes. Okay. And it pops in the top of my head right now since we're doing this video. That sounds like a really cheesy and quick cut-off ending. So I'm sorry if it comes across that way, but I'm just being honest.
No, it's fine.
And but again, I really enjoyed this, and I think a lot of people will be able to relate to your story. And again, we have many more coming for them as well. So
you bet.
All right, Brian, love you, man.
Thanks, bud.
Have a good one.
Okay, see you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.